Wondermous, welcome to a healthcare leadership journey. My name is Merikay Hunt. I am your cruise director for this podcast journey. And today I'm really excited to bring you Bryan Meek. He is an attorney, and Bryan and I actually recently co-presented at a National Society of Certified Healthcare Business Consultants meeting. It was one of our annual conference, and we'll tell you a little bit more about what we presented on during our time today. But Bryan, welcome. I'm so glad you could join me.
Well, thank you for having me again, Mary Kay. And this is a wonderful podcast you got going here, and I'm excited to be your guest today.
Awesome. So, Bryan, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do for your career, a little bit about your firm, and then we'll do a deeper dive into what inspired you to get into this field that you're in.
Sounds good. Well, an attorney is something I always wanted to be. It's like, I was the quintessential little kid who, when they were asked, what did you want to be when you grew up? I said an attorney, right? But it's something that I've certainly found more and more passion on as I've gone through life. And now I am the co-chair of Brennan, Manna and Diamond's Labor and Employment Division. So I specialize in employment issues, primarily representing, hospitals, healthcare groups, physicians, and anything involving employment, which is a super interesting field that I encourage everyone to get involved in. If nothing more than the drama that you hear and you see in employment law you learn something new every day. You see something new every day. It's great.
So, and tell us a little bit about your firm and where you're located and sort of the areas that you all focus on globally.
Sure. So I am licensed in Ohio, but our firm has, probably almost 100 attorneys now that are located primarily in Ohio and Florida. We have offices in Cleveland, Akron, Canton, Columbus, and then down in Florida, Orlando, Jacksonville, Bonita Springs area. And but we have licensed attorneys literally throughout the country. So we handle clients throughout the country and have attorneys throughout the country. And it's an amazing firm to work for.
That's awesome. And I'm curious, did you start your career at this firm? Or were you somewhere else?
I did. So BMD plucked me right out of law school and said, okay, you're going to take the bar, and then you're going to be here, the day after you take the bar and ready to hit the ground running. I've been here ever since, and what a journey it's been. It'll be 10 years here in November.
Wow. Okay. Getting that anniversary. So
That's
what
right.
do you think's been one of your biggest learning lessons in your career journey there that's really helped you grow as a professional?
Sure. It's one of those areas I think you specialize in quite well, Mary Kay, and that's really how to talk with, listen to, and really understand people. That was an area that, I didn't really excel in when I started as a new attorney, but an area you quickly need to understand when it comes to being an attorney. And that's been such an amazing journey of mine from, learning how to obviously speak with people, right, in a more not only professional but effective way, and then how to understand and listen for comprehension and then respond to such statements. And that has been one of my biggest journeys, one of the areas I like to talk about the most.
Oh, that's great. And, transparently, I'm a fan of yours. So I was kind of excited when Amanda, your colleague that also works at the firm, and Amanda, we featured her on one of our earlier episodes. But when Amanda asked me to speak at one of your all's conferences for your firm, I was really excited. So we got to meet and greet a little bit there, but also what I had mentioned earlier when we introed is that we got to co-present, and I brought my file here of our time together, but our topic was difficult conversations. And, it was interesting because it was performance improvement, discipline, and termination. And just for all of you out there that ever get to co-present with somebody, I had so much fun preparing this with Bryan. So we would schedule these Zoom calls to kind of go over our content and talk about who wanted to do what. And here's the thing, when you love what you do and you are passionate about it and you're interested in it, then you can have fun. And Bryan and I, our personalities really complemented one another too. So what was kind of your takeaway from the experience of planning it, but then also the delivery? And then let's talk a little bit about the content in hopes that it helps some of our listeners.
Sure. It's one of those things where when Amanda is, putting you and I together, I'm like, oh no, a group project, right? You think back to high school, it's like one of us is going to get stuck doing all the work and it's going to end up being me. And, that's okay. But it wasn't like that at all, right? Working with you was so easy. And as you said, things just came naturally and everything was perfectly divided for our presentation. We bounced off each other quite well. And if I remember correctly, I think we were scheduled to be the first presentation of the conference at like 8:30 a.m. or 8 a.m. And everyone who knows me knows I'm not the biggest morning person, but Merikay must be because bouncing off your energy for that first session was absolutely awesome. And I think it was a great topic, like you said, handling difficult conversations, primarily in the workplace. And we can get into that topic, as you said, but a great way to wake people up to talk about displaying and termination and things of that nature.
So what was one of your stories that you feel like was a difficult conversation that you may have been dreading, but you were able to get through it and accomplish it? And what were some of the background details of that?
Sure. I mean, for me, one of the difficult conversations that I have, and then I have to educate a lot of people on how to have these conversations, is really kind of the discipline conversation. And a lot of people say, well, wouldn't it be termination? And for me, it's not so much termination because that's more of a finality type conversation. You know what's coming, you can prepare more easily. But with discipline, right, having those conversations where you got to sit down with a colleague or an employee and address their performance issues, because nobody wants to hear about what they're doing bad. And so you're going to get some strong feelings coming back the other way that you need to prepare for. And I've had people in discipline meetings stand up, start screaming and shouting. We had one where an employee, not one of our employees, fortunately, it was for a client, but just threw a stapler across the room and discussed over the conversation. And you don't see outbursts like that with termination, but they happen a lot with discipline. Again, having a disciplined conversation feels attacking almost to a person. So being able to navigate that those feelings in such a way to have it be more comprehensive, right? Because you do want this person to stay with you. You do want them to perform. So having those conversations in such a productive way is something that can be trained and taught and is a great way to have a conversation with somebody.
Well, and I was just mentioning to somebody yesterday, words, once they're said, we don't get them back. And that's whether it's on an email or leaving a voicemail. And so being positive and purposeful in our dialogue, even if we're having to deliver bad news or deliver news that could be, interpreted as critical or as performance improvement or, reprimands, because I feel like if we do it from a perspective of helping someone go to the next level, they might not even see their obstacles that are right in front of them because of tunnel vision or ego or whatever the case. But I do believe in my heart that if we can present it in a way where we're speaking the truth, but we're doing it in a genuine, sincere way, then we can get some good results. So what's a challenge that you've overcome in your career that really helped define some of your key strengths as a professional?
So it would be public speaking.
Really?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like when I first started as a lawyer, I hated it. I would dread going to court. I dreaded speaking at conferences. Anytime I had to speak publicly, I'm like, oh no, I hate this so much, right? I just wasn't a fan of it. And that's so weird for a lawyer to say, right?
That's funny.
But now I don't know what it was. It was either kind of working with some of my own YouTube content that I've done and published to get that information out there, as well as just forcing myself to attend conferences and speak at them. And just become comfortable doing it is probably one of the biggest challenges of my career I've had to overcome. It wasn't even the law, it was public speaking. But I encourage young people, or young attorneys rather, and then anyone else, right, who may struggle with public speaking, just get out there and do it. You're going to, it's not gonna be fun the first couple times, but after the third, fourth time, you're going to be a natural, and it comes quickly, right, to people once they actually start doing it.
Well, and I think sometimes we got to get out of our own way. The messages that we'll say to ourselves in our mind. I've had so many people that have taken my 2-day public speaking course called Presenting with Influence, and they'll get up and say, I was really nervous. And I'm like, nobody would know. unless you had told us, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the messaging too, but for you, you come across as a natural speaker. So I was really surprised that you said that was one of your biggest challenges.
Yeah, it's all based on training. But I think you're right. I mean, you said it best. Just get out of your own way. Everyone has a fear of, most people have a fear of public speaking, right? That they
Mhm.
can overcome.
Yes.
But nobody's judging you and how you're talking up there. Just get up on stage and have that conversation. Act like you're talking to one person rather than a group of people, and it'll get much easier. But you're more the expert in that field. It's certainly not I.
Well, I remember my very first speech I gave when I finished graduate school in the counseling department. It was for the North Carolina State Counseling Association. And I remember sitting in the lobby of the Embassy Suites, looking through all the evaluations, and I had one criticism. And guess what I focused on?
What was that?
The one criticism. I didn't focus on the 99 evaluations that were off the chart. So my aha learning lesson was always throw out your highest evaluation and your lowest evaluation.
Yep.
So that way you can really focus on, all of the people that you did touch, not that one terminally unique people that felt like they needed to go ahead and, slam you.
Absolutely.
So when we kind of are looking at obstacles that we have to overcome professionally, one of the things that has come up is sort of the work-life integration or the work-life counterbalance. How do you manage your workflow, but then also keep your sanity on this, season of we got to do more, better, faster with less resources? So how do you kind of keep all the plates spinning?
Oh, it's a challenge, especially nowadays, right? With technology, we're always on call, if you will, and always reachable. I'm newly married, and one of the things I wanted to focus in was having that work balance, right? And being able to turn it off in the evenings. And I'm not sure that I'm perfect at it yet. I'm working on it. But you're right. I mean, we live in a society where we're constantly being thrown out with either new technology or new research, new understandings, and we need to understand and apply all that by tomorrow, right? You do it, I do it in law, and it's such commonplace. And I think it comes down to, you really have to have a love for what you do and a love for learning. In the best way to teach somebody something is to understand it and yourself, and learn it yourself, and obviously, and that's where I try to focus, is like, okay, I have this love of the law. I have this love of employment issues, and I want to learn more every day, and I want to educate myself on the newest thing. And that's really where I try to balance it. Is it's not so much, oh, this is another hour of work I got to do. It's more of, no, this is another opportunity to learn something new and apply it in my career.
Sure. And congratulations on your wedding. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And so one of the things that I implemented a few years ago, and I told my kids, now my oldest is 34-ish, I think. And then I've got 26 and then 22. But I said, look, on Sundays, mama's unplugging, because I just needed one day where I wasn't going to be on technology. And my oldest, she's like, Mom, I know you want to do that, but it really unnerves me. Because she likes to have me available. But here's my point. I just got back from a week in Knoxville, Tennessee to see my new grandbaby. And I will tell you, I had to be very mindful and purposeful, because I still needed to plug in and work remote. But I wanted to be present and really enjoy. So I'm going to throw down a challenge that you keep those communication channels open, so that you each, in this new season of being together, make each other a really good priority. And with that said, one of the things that I think is so important when we think about our quest for learning, our love of learning, and really sort of walking that talk professionally, who are some people that really have been a positive influence on you and your career?
Sure. First, I will say, I'll name drop the person who introduced us, which is Amanda Wesh. I mean, the way she tackles her career and also, her own personal, home life, the way she handles work-life balance is really something to envy. And first and foremost, her family comes first. But the way she also handles her career and the drive that she has and the constant desire she has to solve client problems and be first and foremost for her clients is a great way to learn, not just client development in the law, but customer service in general and dealing with people. She makes everyone feel important. So that's really a big takeaway that I have tried to take from her, which is to make everyone you talk with feel important, right? And then I also have another colleague of mine, John Childs, who is very just practical in the way that he sees the world rather, and the way he understands human nature. He's been around the sun a couple times, so he understands a lot more of the human nature than I do. But the way he's able to really just kind of simplify things in such a way that makes the world easier to understand and dealing with complex situations and complex people more easier to navigate.
He's well seasoned, right?
Yes.
That's what I like to refer to with numerous years of experience. And I love that you said that Amanda has this way of making people feel important. That's actually a Dale Carnegie principle from How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it's also a principle of Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. She had this philosophy across her organization that when you meet someone, pretend they have a sign on their neck that says, "Make me feel like I'm the most important person in the room." And I think that comes back to being present, right? So I think my takeaway from our time together today is let's do what we need to do, moment to moment to truly be present, whether we're recording a podcast or whether we're in a client meeting or whether we're in an email. Because I think sometimes when I'm talking to professionals, especially in my executive coaching realm, they're trying to do too many things at one time.
Yeah.
And we're not an octopus. We cannot multitask. It's so overrated. And so tell me some of your best practices to really have a good workflow throughout the day and the week that help give you a professional edge.
Yep. One of them is I learned this. I cannot remember the name of who said this, but it was a CEO of a major company. And he says, I only answer emails in the early morning and in the late afternoon.
Nice.
I don't answer emails in the evening. That's for the family time. And during the day, that is when I'm being present with the projects that I have. It allows me to be present on what I need to do. And I work off my calendar. I block my time. And that hour, that half hour, whatever it is solely devoted to that task. And then when I'm answering emails, it's just solely devoted to that individual email that I'm responding to. It's not, You're not trying to juggle this project. Oh, wait, here comes a new email. I better answer it. Oh, now I'm back to the project. You're not as efficient that way. You're not as effective that way when you're trying to multitask all these technology devices throughout the day. So focusing on one form of communication or one task at a time is really something that I've started to employ in my career, and I have found to be very useful. And look, if it's an emergency, someone will call you. We shouldn't be communicating through email on emergencies anyway, but that allowing
Amen. Bryan, preach it.
Yeah, just pick up the phone and call somebody, right? Don't send me urgent. I might not see it.
Or if you're in a building with a bunch of people, walk down the hallway, dude. Don't send me an email. When I worked at the CPA firm in Greensboro, that unnerved me. I'm like, dude, I'm like 2 doors down from you.
Yep.
Stand up. Walk 10 steps, knock on the door, So anyway, okay, that's just my little platform on that.
My favorite thing is like when we're having these Teams calls or Zoom calls with people down the hall. It's like, why don't we just meet in the same office and have the same conversation? I hear you.
I mean, that when you're somewhat of an extrovert like me and relationship building is important. Now, I don't want to go to a meeting about a meeting about a meeting.
No.
But, let's make it purposeful and let's come together. And it's interesting because a couple of practice administrators I've been talking to recently that are working in oral surgery, we're talking about having purposeful huddles, right? Or having purposeful team meetings. And it doesn't have to be, every week. It can be once a month or even once every other month, but we got to have scheduled time where we're coming face to face. And because day to day, there's so much activity happening too. Yep. So how do you guys as a firm, because y'all have some amazing internal culture, but what do you think is sort of some of that magic sauce, if you will, of core values that makes your firm unique?
I think it is the ability to communicate with anyone in this firm. There is no really hierarchy of communication here. Like you'll go to other companies and maybe there's some other law firms where a young associate needs to communicate with an older associate who then needs to communicate with a partner who goes higher up than that. We don't have that here. Our culture is very much the youngest associate could pick up and call Jack Diamond, one of the named attorneys at our building, or of our firm rather, can pick him up and call him this afternoon to get a communication. I think that boils down to we have this access to each other that enables relationship growth and fostering and allows everyone to really perform at their highest potential and learn from each other. And I think that's one of the things that really makes our firm excel is that openness and that ability to have cross collaboration and cross relationships across the entire firm.
So, speaking of the word excel, so what are your top 3 favorite things to public speak on now that you're so
Sure.
good at it?
Sure. First and foremost, it's got to be it's some facet of employment law. Usually, just updates in the law. I like teaching about what's changed, what's come,
Mhm,
things like that. Second, and I think this is really kind of a new area and something
mhm,
I've learned from you, which is really kind of starting to teach people, how to better manage and how to again have
right,
those difficult conversations, if you will,
mhm,
and allowing HR individuals, C-suite executives understand their workforce and
mhm.
train and motivate and even resolve conflict in their workforce is probably second most. And then third, I think I don't know, I like doing podcasts like this where you're just kind of shooting the breeze, right? And just talking about anything, right? Miscellaneous.
Oh, good. Well, and I have to share that my absolute favorite question that I'm getting ready to ask you,
Uh-oh.
um, if you could talk to your younger self, Bryan, and give yourself words of encouragement or words of wisdom,
Mhm.
what would you say?
I would say not everything is the end of the world, right? I can be a fretter sometimes, and the ability to have that self insight to know that hey, not every issue that comes up is earth shattering or is a career ending, right? And just
Mhm.
makes life so much easier. Just being able to kind
Oh,
of slow down and understand that hey, conflicts arise, but you'll get through it too.
oh, that's awesome. And Bryan, transparently, because I'm 99.9% transparent all the time, but you're my final meeting for today. And I've been looking forward to this all day. So thank you. All right.
You're
So,
welcome.
Bryan, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they
Sure.
do that?
Sure. So they can certainly send me an email. I have, if you just Google Bryan Meek, Brendan Manna, and Diamond, my name will come up. I also have an employment law channel that should have some new content coming out called Employment Law After Hours. And I'm always
Good.
anxious to meet people online like that.
Awesome. And I'll also put it in the summary when we post it. And again, thank you. My name's Mary Kay, and our firm is Coach MK Companies. We want to help people rise, leaders and teams go to the next level so they get amazing performance at work and at home to have that work life integration. So if you want to learn more about me, you can visit coachmk.com. I hope that you'll like and subscribe to the Wondermous Podcast channel. Bryan, it's been a blessing. Make it
Yes.
a great day.
So thank you, Mary Kay.